Now, am I the only one who thinks it's high time the government came clean over its stance on drugs? Look, excuse the puns, this is a desperately serious and too often even deadly problem that's currently being handled, well, with all the authority you expect when Chelsea substitutes its goalkeeper. The Home Office has just licensed the nation's first drug-checking centre in Weston-super-Mare in Somerset. Users aged 18 and over can take their drugs to the clinic to have them tested to see if they're safe, with no fear of getting into trouble. Now, this follows a spike in drug-related deaths, many in seaside towns. While everything should be done to halt that, what's next? How about a cab home and a bottle of scotch to really make the night go with a swing? We need some honesty here. I'm all for the medicinal use of cannabis, and I see some of the arguments for limited decriminalisation. However, with one arm of the state offering to test substances and the long arm of the law simultaneously trying to lock users up, could we possibly just have a puff of smoke of clarity over this?
I'm with you. You know, this is
Really?
Completely with you. This is typical of this country and its wishy-washy attitude to drugs. I mean, the charity that is spearheading this is going to be running some of this. It's a charity called Addiction, and from where I can see, what they're basically doing is they're condoning the use of illegal drugs, although they say quite clearly they're not. But that's precisely what they're doing. And these clinics that have been funded by the state, this makes the state a drug enabler. This is not about trying to get people off drugs. That's saying to people, bring your illegal drugs in and we'll test a little bit of them, and then off you go and you can take your illegal drugs. The whole point of this is that we stop people taking illegal drugs. We hear all the time...
we failed with that.
No, we haven't, because we keep hearing that drug laws don't work. 90% of people in this country are not regular drug users. 10% are. So the 90% have been prohibited by the laws that we have.
OK. I want to mention it's authorised by the Home Office, it's not actually funded by the taxpayer.
No, I realise that. No, I know that. But it is still the state backing illegal drug use when there are laws to stop illegal drug use. And here we have the state saying it's OK. And you can I just say this woman,
briefly,
this woman Ros Gittins, who is the director in charge of it, she says our job is to help people make informed choices. No, the job should be to stop people taking illegal drugs that might kill them.
Greg, if it helps people stay alive.
There's a very good quote I thought from this charity, which is called Addiction, not Addiction.
I did say Addiction.
This is about, and this is from Ros Gittins, who says this is about saving lives. We know people take drugs. We don't have to condone it, but nor should we judge people or bury our heads in the sand. It's our job to do whatever we can to help people make informed choices about the risks they're taking. It's Home Office licensed, but in addition to that, we have a local agreement with the police so that people will not be stopped and searched on their way in and out of buildings. Now, what is interesting is this is a trial in one place, as I understand it, Weston-super-Mare, although I do think it's been done in several festivals.
Yeah, in Bristol and places like that in the
So
summer.
this is a trial. I'm all for doing trials like this to see if it makes any difference. What you don't want is more and more people...
You get my point, and I'll bring you up.
I understand.
You know, we've got the police trying to lock them up, and then we've got a Home Office sanctions...
Because we know our drugs policies all over the place, and has been for years.
Right. Michelle?
I agree that there's contradiction, but I think as a society we need to figure out what kind of society we want to be. So in an ideal world, nobody would take illegal drugs.
No.
None of us would drink to excess, and, you know, we'd all be nice and happy and healthy.
We'd speed on motorways and we'd all...
That's not reality.
No.
So, therefore, what you've got to ask yourself is people will take illegal drugs. They do, they will, and they will continue to. And I speak as someone whose former life was impacted by illegal drugs in not a nice way. And I also know more than one person that has died as a result of taking illegal drugs. And I've seen the devastation that has caused to families and to loved ones. And if there was a way that actually some of those drugs could have been tested in the beginning and actually said this has been cut with something, this isn't a safe product for you to take, that may have saved lives. So we've had almost 4,000 drug-related deaths in England and Wales in 2017. And for me, they are all needless deaths. So whilst I wish that people didn't take drugs, I think that actually this is quite a progressive and a bold move, actually, to try and save people's lives.
Let's get Trevor. Do you see the point I'm making? A mixed message, Trevor?
Yeah, this is going to make sure I never get invited to certain North London dinner parties ever again. But I'm with Nick on this for two two reasons. First of all, I agree with you, Greg, we shouldn't judge people, but we can judge their behaviour.
Yes.
And we can say certain behaviours are not just to be discouraged, but they should be prohibited. And the second point I want to make is that I get Michelle's point about, you know, the risk and so on. But, you know, if we were really serious about that, then, OK, if you're going to let people test their drugs, then they should pay for it rather than everybody else. If they're going to indulge in risky behaviour, then they should pay for that risk. But the most important point is the one that was made by the Commissioner of Metropolitan Police last year, which is that this is not behaviour in a bubble. What do we think all of those killings that are going on the streets of Birmingham and London are about? They are about drugs. And unless we actually take a zero-tolerance approach to this, then actually that's going to continue.
But
that's where it ends
Isn't
up.
that what we've tried to do over many years?
And failed. They haven't enforced their laws. They had the laws.
Well,
have not
I
been
don't think we
enforced.
actually have taken a zero-tolerance
we haven't.
Did you see what they
approach to
did? Was it in the Philippines? And I want to say President Duterte, but I may well have pronounced or got that wrong. And he had absolutely enough of drugs. And he basically said, I don't want drugs on my streets. And if you want to wander around killing druggies and dealers, you can, and there'll be no sanctions for it.
Don't go that far.
That was way too far.
I think that's a bit unfair.
It's way too far the other
This
way.
woman, Ros Gittings, also says that people who have had their drugs tested, then many decide not to take them. I don't buy that. It suggests that junkies have some measure of control over what they're doing and taking,
Don't call
and they
anyone
don't.
that uses
And
drugs
not necessarily
junkies.
junkie, that's a little bit junky.
Well, is it not someone who's addicted to drugs? What are they then?
Someone going
They
to a
can
party,
use them
someone
without-
going to a party
Yeah.
and taking a line of cocaine or an ecstasy tablet or
I don't think
trips
they're
or whatever.
talking
They're
about
not
lines of cocaine here.
junkies.
Well,
They're not talking about lines.
Yes, they are.
I want
because
to bring Greg in because I think you and I possibly both not sure that we agree with it. I think we do supposedly have a zero tolerance for drugs. We're just not affecting it. Is that what we're trying to do?
Well, I think we did for many years and it didn't work, and now I think we're not sure what we're doing. It will. I think I would have in the old days of royal commissions or something like it. I'd set up a commission to say, look at our drugs policy. Let's look at it seriously and let's look and find out what we ought to change, whether we should change.
You talk about decriminalising.
No, I'm not saying. I'm not saying at all. They might say that. I'm saying let's look at it because clearly what we've got at the moment isn't working. Why I quite like this is I like the idea of small trials to see what impact they have.
Well,
it might be, if it makes no difference whatsoever, then you wouldn't do it, would you?
Should we look at what the Home Office has got to say about this as well? So they've come out and said this government has no plans to decriminalise drug possession, and it would be completely wrong to suggest that the decision to issue a licence for approved research purposes represents a change in this policy. A Home Office licence was issued, so approved research could be undertaken in Adaction's clinic in Somerset in accordance with the terms of that licence. All licence applications are considered individually on their merits. And I repeat my previous point, which is I think this is a bold move. I think it's a brave,
and you know it's happened at
step.
festivals, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So it happened at festivals last summer, and thousands of people actually went and got their drugs tested. And as I said, there will be many people that watch this programme go, hang on a minute, how is my government able to tell me that I'm OK to drink alcohol, but I can't take cocaine?
Before we move on,
the problem is it's fine for the people at the festival and they get a better hit or a worse hit or whatever it is. But think about what is happening in the supply chain. Think about what's happened before those drugs have got to the festival.
We're normalising the taking of illegal drugs.
It already is normal to many different people.
That's because we have not acted, we have not imposed our drug laws on people who take drugs. And if we don't do that, how can we expect the problem to be any less? You mentioned the place you mentioned before. I think Shanghai has the same kind of policy. People are punished for taking drugs. Now, I'm not saying we want to go down the road where people get physically punished, but there has to be some sort of consequence for breaking the law.
OK, well, this one can roll on and on. So let's move on.